Hello everyone and welcome to the Green Man channel. Hope you're doing good and well. So it's the first time in a while that I'm posting a horror related video. I've not posted any horror content on the channel for a good few months, certainly since I was back in my flat, I think, before I moved out. So it's long overdue that I post a horror video, and we're getting a bit back into the swing of things here with me talking about horror films that I feel I need to see, ones that are on my watch list. 8 films here. They've either come recommended to me or that they just have a particular reason that I want to watch them. It might be just that I like the look of the film poster even, or it might be that there's, something interesting about the film. Maybe it sparks some outrage upon its release, or it has, something about the setup of the film that's that bit interesting that might, engage me. So I've got 8 films here. I'm going to talk about each one in turn. Let me know in the comments if you've seen any of these films, whether you would recommend that I do check these out, or maybe you recommend I avoid them like the plague. Now we're starting with a film which came out in 2005 called The Exorcism of Emily Rose. This is directed by Scott Derrickson. Scott Derrickson, of course, was behind The Black Phone. So that already has means that the film has a bit of credibility. I do think Scott Derrickson is a pretty good director, at least the films I've seen him direct. I've always kind of quite liked, generally. I'm not sure if I could say that about all of them, but certainly The Black Phone is a great film, and that's a fairly recent one. I've also heard some divided opinions about this film. So what this is about apparently is about someone who's an agnostic is defending a parish priest who is accused of negligent homicide when performing an exorcism of Emily Rose. Sounds like there's a setup there that could make for a good sort of almost as much of a drama or a courtroom-based kind of drama. So, I mean, I've heard mixed things, but there's enough here with the Scott Derrickson direction and what the film sounds like it's about that I'm interested enough to eventually want to watch this one. So that's The Exorcism of Emily Rose, which is first on my list from 2005. Next up on my list is 1981's Possession. Yes, I have never seen this horror classic. I've heard a lot about it. I also know it caused outrage upon its release. It was actually banned, I believe, in the UK when it was originally released back in '81. This is directed by Andrzej Zulawski. I think I'm saying that name correctly. Let me know if not. But yeah, it stars Isabelle Adjani, a French actress. Also Sam Neill, who many of you will know. This would have been in his kind of earlier stages of his career. You might know him from Jurassic Park, like me. That's the main thing I know Sam Neill, or I think of Sam Neill from, is the early 90s Jurassic Park, such a classic, such a Spielberg classic. But yeah, I really want to check out Possession. Just sounds, sounds like, why did it cause outrage so much? Kind of anything like that just makes me curious, as well as it being deemed a bit of a classic that I've never seen. So plenty there for me, plenty of reason, I think, as well, for me to check this one out. Next up on my list is 2014's Last Shift, directed by Anthony de Blasi, who has, I believe, worked with Clive Barker. Many of you might know Clive Barker because he was behind, he directed the original Hellraiser, and he was behind the Hellraiser story. He's a well-known horror writer. I probably don't need, if you're watching the channel and you're a horror fan, you probably don't need to know all that. But yeah, so him working with Clive Barker, though, got me interested because it made me think, well, what sort of a film is this going to be like? It's going to be very gory. It's apparently about somebody that's working their last shift at a police station and strange things start to happen. But it's with that kind of background that he's got, having worked with Clive Barker, does that mean we're going to get something that's a little bit Hellraiser-esque here? So I'm interested to check this one out, nevertheless. That's Last Shift from 2014. Next up, I'm talking about a film called The Ruins, directed by Carter Smith, which is based on a novel which came out a couple of years earlier in 2006, which was written by Scott B. Smith. And this is about 2 couples, I think, that go away to Mexico, and they're joined by a tourist, visit a sort of a remote ruin, a remote Mayan ruin, and then a strange thing starts to happen with these sort of vines that are apparently carnivorous. Now, it sounds gory, sounds pretty gruesome, but whether it actually is, I'm not so sure. I'll need to check it out. But yeah, another film that has actually been on my periphery for quite a long time that I've wanted to check out. But anyway, that's 2008's Ruins. It's just one that I want to see. Believe it, again, it's not necessarily had like rave reviews. People don't say it's an amazing film, but it's kind of one of these that also ends up on these kind of dark horse underdog lists or underrated films lists. So there's enough there to pull me in to check this one out. Next up, I'm talking about the remake of Shutter. Now, it's a remake, and I always think, is it a bit of a crime to watch a remake before you've seen the original? Perhaps it is, because I've not seen the original Shutter film, the original Thai film either. But yeah, sounds kind of like a very dark film, this, a couple that, accidentally during a car accident kill a young girl, and they start to see her in photographs, and it just sounds incredibly dark and depressing. Actually, that might be something I might enjoy. So I do tend to like a lot of dark films and dark stuff. But yeah, otherwise it's just another one that's sort of been on the outskirts of my radar that I want to check out. So that's Shutter from 2008, and it's a remake, as I say. Maybe I should watch the original first, or maybe have an opinion on that in the comments, whether it matters whether I watch the remake of this one before I watch the original. Perhaps that's one for you commenters out there and you horror experts to let me know. Next up, I'm talking about a sequel. Now, this takes me back to my student days when I was half the age I am now. I was 20, and I watched Wolf Creek, the Australian sort of serial killer kind of film, I guess, which I believe is actually based on a sort of true story as well. And the villain in that film, played by John Jarratt, is really terrific. He's playing Mick Taylor, who is the killer. And it's I thought that original film was really, really well done. Not perfect, but very, very well done and very engrossing. So when I realised there'd actually been a second one, only quite recently, like only in the last 3 or 4 years, did I come to realise, there was a second one released back in 2013, I think it was. I've got to watch this film. It's directed by Greg McLean, and yeah, I'm just looking forward to John Jarratt reprising his role as Mick Taylor and seeing, apparently this one's pretty brutal, pretty gory. I personally don't mind a lot of gore in films. And having enjoyed the original, I feel like this is one I also need to watch. Let me know if you've seen Wolf Creek 2, and let me know what you thought of that one. Now, next up, this is the 7th in my list. This is Cloverfield. I haven't seen any of the Cloverfield films, and kind of being my sort of era of horror in a way, the late 2000s or mid 2000s, late 2000s. It's early 2010s. It's sort of, it feels a bit like my era of horror. That was this kind of era of horror where, I was watching a lot of these kind of films. I never saw Cloverfield. I've never seen any of the 3 films that I think there have been so far, but this is the original. I do want to watch it. It's a sort of found footage. Now, found footage is hit and miss for me. I like some found footage films, others not so much. But apparently, it's a found footage monster horror film. It stars Lizzie Kaplan, who I think was in Mean Girls, and Jessica Lucas, T.J. Miller, directed by Matt Reeves. Yeah, there's enough here that I'm curious to check out Cloverfield. And I have heard very positive things about this franchise, so I do want to check that one out at some point pretty soon. And last on my list is a film from 2007, directed by Gregory Jacobs. And this one, I think I got wind of, no pun intended, through Possessed by Horror's channel when she was talking about 2000s horror. And this is called Wind Chill. Stars Emily Blunt. Now, I do like Emily Blunt in quite a few things, so that's in and of itself a bit of a pull to watch this film. And it's got Ashton Holmes in it as well, about 2 college students that ride home for the holidays. But they break down, that kind of classic horror setup, right? Breaking down on a deserted road, and odd things start to happen. I think they get haunted by various ghosts, and that in and of itself actually doesn't sound all that new or interesting. But apparently this film is quite good, and when it's got Emily Blunt in as well, and you probably might have some performance credibility. I'm kind of like, well, I think I would quite like to check out Wind Chill and see if this one is any good. Directed by Gregory Jacobs. That one is from 2007. Well, thanks for watching, everyone. I hope you enjoyed the video. Do drop a like and a sub if you like my content. As I say, haven't been posting a lot of horror content recently, mostly because of my current situation where I've just found it easier to do regular content like album reviews. Horror requires me to delve a bit more into things. I think to get to, I like to talk about franchises, I like to do rankings and lists for horror stuff. So that's why it's been a bit absent from the channel lately, because my time has been short compared to usual. But once I got moved into my new place, I'm really wanting to get things back to a much more normal pace on the channel, and horror will make a return. So thanks very much for watching, and until next time, bye for now.